Alright, welcome back to another video. So it's been a while since I uploaded anything and we are back at it again. I did a small video showing some progress on another combat system that I've been doing, and while I did that I learned a shit ton of new stuff. So I know a lot of you might feel that there's might be a bit of repetition if we're gonna start all over again and do something new, but at the same time I learned a lot, and a lot in like performance, how to actually make your system a little bit more performant, a lot more regarding replication, and just in the general smoothness of the game at all, in general. And so I feel like I want to start over. It's going to be a little bit more advanced actually than what we've been touching on before, but at the same time I want to try to explain everything a little bit more so that it's even going to be possible for new people to actually tag along and understand what's happening. I'm going to try to use only free assets, at least in the tutorial videos. Then maybe I will exchange them in between videos, but free assets so that people can actually follow along. We're gonna touch on how to actually get some free animations from Mixamo and things like that. Yeah, basically we're gonna start over from scratch, but we are gonna make a better, more modular system, which with less hard coding and more ways to actually create it, make it your own later. So basically we're gonna build our own engine inside the engine. Which is going to be really cool, and yeah, it's going to be really easy to like create new AI animes and things like that. So yeah, let's just get right into it. And this first video might not be super useful for people who have been doing UE4 for a while, but I want to start by setting up the basic locomotion, because as we see now we have the standard mannequin UE4 yada yada yada, and I think the animations are horrible. So we're gonna start by doing the locomotion. So in this episode we're gonna switch out these animations, and we are gonna add some leaning to the character when we're running, because that's something that I haven't shown you how to do before. So at least it's not only repetition, and yeah, things like that basically. So this is just an empty project. I'm using UE4 0.26 I believe, and it's going to be the one that I'm using for most of the video. Out of coffee, horrible. Sit tight, I'm just going to get more coffee. What a tutorial. The guy starts by walking off screen. Yeah, so let's just get into it. Free animations are everywhere. In Marketplace, what I just usually do, if you're new to UE4 you probably don't have that many animations. If you are a veteran you probably have a shitload of them, so use whatever animations you want to. If you're new to it, always go on the free and check free for the month assets. These are the ones that are free for the month. Sometimes you can get like controllers here and free animations and everything. I just recommend to just grab it all because it's free. Also, sometimes it's awesome. Anyway, I usually go into the store, I search animation or anim, and then just type free. And browse. We want to go to browse. Yeah, there. Anim, and just type free. Perfect. And hopefully we will find something here. Why is it doing that? It's not searching properly. Marketplace, anim. There we go. Now it's animations here. Then just max price free. Here we go. So you got some here on the female ones, just add that. We got the mocap basic is awesome, so just add that as well. I think we got the animation starter pack, which is mostly rifle animations. Advanced locomotion system V4 also has some animations that you can export from it. And yeah, that's about it. Those are the ones that I usually grab. There are probably also, there is, isn't it a locomotion? Dynamic locomotion maybe? I think it's free as well. Let me just check. Yeah, this one. Okay, it's not free. It was probably free for the monster thing. This one is awesome as well. Yeah, sorry, it's not free. Yeah, so that's one way. So just add those ones. Those are enough for now, and they will be into your project. What's super important straight from the get-go is to actually organize your folders well, because it's going to be horrible later on if your folders are chaos, and also if you do not organize your folders from the start and you want to move them later, it's going to take a lot longer because you have references set up to everything. Also, it might actually break your project sometimes, so just do it from scratch. I usually just, so what I did was I created an animation folder. Inside it I created two folders, one called game, one called imported, and the imported one stores all my imported animations from the marketplace and things like that, and the game ones are the ones that I'm actually using in the game. The reason I divide them is because later on I just want to keep track on what animations I'm actually using, and on the imported folder I also know that I can just like modify the animations and things like that without actually destroying anything in the game. And later on, when the game is actually finished, if you ever get to that point, you can also just delete your imported folder and only you keep your game folder, basically. That would put the project size down of the game, not the packaged one, but on the one that you're working on. So yeah, now we have some animations. Also the same here, I just inside the third person BP, it's the one you have, I usually just rename it to player third person BP, so that it sticks out a little bit more, and then I shove like a shitload of the starter content in that folder, so you can see that we have the static meshes here, and the maps are here, and the mannequin is in the play third person BP as well. So the mannequin folder is usually outside here in the content folder. So just to keep it organized, so we don't have a lot of folders. Actually, I'm going to use this in with this one here as well. I moved, as you can see now, I moved the geometry folder inside the player third person BP, but it's still here, so you want to delete it. And then it says we have a lot of references over here. So basically what you need to do is you need to fix up redirectors in folders, and as you can see, since this now is empty, we can now delete it. Perfect. So it basically cleans up the references. There we go. I don't want to move the starter content yet because I think it might be a little bit too big. I'll do that after the video. It might take a little while, so I don't want to waste time in the video. So perfect. Now we have the basics set up. Let's swap out the animations. What you usually go is if you open your player character. So this is just the standard mannequin or the standard player character. If you type your mesh here, and you can see that we have a skeleton and you have your animation blueprints. We also want to differentiate those from, because when we import stuff, usually when you import stuff, you're also going to be importing like skeletons and things like maps and animation blueprints with it. Sometimes they are named the same, so you want to differentiate the one that you are actually using. So if you just do the SK mannequin, type the search thingy. And here, just rename it to, I'm usually just typing player SK mannequin. Do the same for the skeleton, player underscore UE4 mannequin skeleton. And it's gonna be very obvious later why we do this. Also the animation, going back into your player, third person animation blueprint. The animation blueprint is what drives your character's animations. So this one here as well, you want to rename it player third person animation blueprint. Perfect. So now we can actually differentiate them. The reason you want to do that is in the animations we imported, I already did this, but I'm going to show you what I mean. In all of your animation things that you imported, you are going to have a skeleton associated with them when you import them. Usually in the mannequin folder, character, and then mesh. And as you can see here, for instance, we have a UE4 mannequin skeleton here, which is completely annoying. And we don't need that one because we're not going to use it. But if we so for instance, here you can see the animations. So this is the standard one, but it's for the imported female animation pack. You can see that we have our character running here. And this is using another skeleton than the one that we are actually using, even though they are the same. So if I go inside the mannequin here and actually type delete on this one and go back to those animations, you can see that they are all black. So they don't actually have an animation or a skeleton associated with them. So if you want to use those animations now, you need to retarget them to another skeleton. And I'm just gonna, this is just for show. I already did this with the other packs, but could not find skeleton for animation third person jump start. Would you like to choose a new one? Yes. And then you get to choose, and this is why we changed the name, because now we have player UE4 mannequin. It sticks out because it says player. And it's not really a problem now because the other ones are called random stuff, but at the as you import new project, new things from the marketplace, you're gonna end up having like 10, even more 50 UE4 mannequin skeletons. And if you haven't renamed your to player, it's gonna be hard to know which one is yours. But we retarget this one, and there we go. Now you can see that this is retargeted, and it's possible to use this one with the skeleton that we are using. So that was just for show. I already did this with the other packages, other animations that we imported. I'm gonna use the mocap basic one. Mobility Pro in place. Here we go. I think I'm gonna use this one. So for instance, I'm just gonna select them all. I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna do retarget skeleton on existing. You could just double click as well, but I want to retarget them all to player. Perfect. There we go. And here we have some animations. So I quite like this one. And so this is a decent animation for running. I quite like this one. We're gonna use that one. So just Control C. Actually, let's find an idle one as well. Stand relaxed. I don't want one that's moving too much. This one is quite nice. And we have a walking one as well. Yeah, a walking one, so we're just gonna take that one as well. Take the walking, and we have the jog in place, this one, yeah. So it's this one, and this one. Those are the ones that I'm gonna use. And as I said, I have my imported and my game folder, so I'm actually gonna Control C this one, these three ones, go into my game folder, into my player animations, and I already had one, but I'm gonna delete that one just so to make sure. So paste them all in here. Which one is this? Oh, that's another one. Just gonna delete that one as well. So I ignore what I just did, it's just testing before the video to see that everything actually works. Here we have 3 animations that I want to use. So instead of the ones that the mannequin comes with as a standard, we're going to use these 3 ones. So I'm just going to rename them to player jog F. And I usually do prefixes, so AS for animation sequence, player jog F for forward, and AS for animation sequence, player idle, and AS player walk F. So there we go. So what we want to do now is we want to exchange these animations. So if you go into your player character, you have your mesh, your animation blueprint. So this is your animation blueprint. And this is basically what drives your animations. So if you look at the how it looks right now, so this is the only thing we're grabbing here is the speed, and is in air is the only thing that are actually used in the standard animation blueprint. And everything is driven by the event blueprint update animation. This is a tick event, so you do want to avoid to use this as much as possible, but yeah, you shouldn't feel too bad about using it either. I read somewhere in the documentation, I think, or on the forums, that it's a little bit better optimized than the event tick in a regular actor, but I'm not entirely sure about that. But sometimes we actually need to use this one. For the speed, etc., it's actually good to use it, I would say. So I'm gonna, and if you go into your animation graph, here, animation graph, and your state machine, you can find your states, and the default idle run state looks like this. So you have the speed variable that is driving the animation blend space, and if we open this one up, you can see that it's a 1D blend space, so it only goes in one direction, nothing happens up and down. And we want to use a 2D blend or 3D blend space actually, because we want to use more than one axis, because this is just one axis, but we want to actually add some lean as well, so we need 2 axes and more than one variable only called speed. So let's create a new one. In your animation game player folder, I'm gonna create new animation blend space, not 1D, a regular blend space. We are once again gonna use the player UE4 mannequin skeleton, and we are gonna call it BS for blend space, player unarmed. Just so we know that this is the unarmed one. Later on we're gonna have different ones for when we have actually weapons equipped and things like that. But this is the standard one. If you open that one up, we are gonna need to change our axes. So for the horizontal one, we are gonna use rotation. And for the vertical one, we are gonna use the speed. So the speed is gonna be the same as the other one. Speed maximum is gonna be 500. Because I think that 600 is a little bit much, which is the standard one. And for the rotation, we need something like -50 for the minimum and 50 for the maximum. Something like that. Perfect. So now we need to populate this one because we don't have any animations in this animation blueprint, as you can see. So what we want to do is also organize. So we are going to create 2 more ones. Walk, run, walk. So the jog forward is in here. Actually, we're going to rename it run, not jog. Here we go. And the walking in the walking one, and the idle one, so I'm just going to keep here because there's only one. don't forget to save everything every now and then in case you crash. So let's populate this one. Firstly, drag the idle one in, and it's going to be on the 0 one. So the idle is at 0. We don't need any minus values for speed for now, because we are not going to be doing any backwards movement. We will do that later for the strafing movement. And then we have our run forward, which is going to be on the 500 point. And then we have our walk forward, which can be something like, yeah, maybe there, 125. Also, in your play third person character, I already did this as well, but if you select the character movement and type max walk speed, the standard is 600, but I changed it to 500 just to keep it a little bit slower, because I think 600 is a lot. And yeah, so yeah, what we need to do now is that now that we have this blend space, as you can see, it looks a lot better than the other one. The animations are better. We are gonna drag this blend space instead of this one, because we don't need this 2D blend space. Just delete this one and drag this one in here as well instead. Then, and as you can see now, we have two variables now. On the last one there was only speed, but in this one you can see that we have both rotation and speed, and the rotation is going to be driving the lean that we're actually doing when we're turning. So yeah, you can see that we have the new animations in, and they are actually working now. Looks a lot better. It's snapping a little bit much, but yeah, we'll fix that. Looks a lot better already. Let's add the rotation value. Actually, let's first do the leaning animations. So if you go into your running folder and duplicate this one, Control V for duplicate, and you have AS player run _F, we are gonna add lean right. Duplicate again, lean left. Perfect. So if you open, we start by lean left. Now, I'm not an animator, but I do modify animations all the time, and I'm going to show you how to do that later, because it's a super useful thing to actually be able to do in Unreal. So we're going to modify the keyframes. Basically, if you go to your skeleton, select the root, we are going to turn this animation into a leaning animation, which is super simple, super CP. Just select the root and do something like left lean. I'm gonna go with 30, might be a little bit too much, but I'm gonna go with 30 now, because at least that's gonna show a lot. Actually, it's a little bit too much, I think, but let's go with it just for demonstration purposes. You can change it to whatever you want. So lean left 30, and you can see now that on the additive layer track, we you can't see because of my face. There you go. Additive layer track root is now modified. Perfect. And we're gonna do the same with the right one. 30 degrees, keyframe, apply. Perfect. So now we have leaning animations, as you can see. There is a lean, yeah. It's a very strong lean, so it might be a little bit too much, but yeah, you can see it's working. So in this blueprint, we now want to use these ones, the rotation variable, to actually add the lean. So lean left, might be wrong about this, but the lean left should be to the right, and the lean right should be to the left. I'm fairly sure, I'm not entirely sure. And yeah, So let's do the same with the walking animations. Duplicate, lean right, and lean left. So lean left is gonna be, I'm not gonna do as much with the walking animations because the speed isn't as much, so I'm just gonna do 15 degrees on the walking animations. And yeah, open it up again, lean left, remember the left to the left, actually maybe down there, and the right to the left side, there. So now we can see that if we play, you can see that at this speed we are actually walking, then we are running, and then if we are leaning, we are actually leaning. Nice, right? And just drag the idle ones into the corners as well. There we go. And it's still not going to work. As you can see, we are not leaning, and that's because we haven't assigned the rotation variable. So let's go back into our event graph and actually do the rotation variable. And this is actually super simple. So as you can see here, we have our speed variable, which is driven by the velocity from our pawn and the vector length of the velocity. So just copy, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. So the speed variable here, just copy it and rename it rotation. So we want to set the rotation after we set the speed, or before, doesn't really matter. And the rotation is gonna be from this try get pawn owner. It's gonna be get actor location. No, I'm sorry. Get actor rotation. Get actor rotation, I believe. I hope so. Might be control rotation, but let's do actor. And get direction. Calculate direction. And the calculate direction node takes in velocity and base rotation, so we're gonna do the rotation from the character and the velocity from the character to calculate the direction. And the return value of the direction is the rotation, hopefully. And we are gonna go back in to the idle run state, and we need to connect the rotation to the rotation. And hopefully it all should work. Yeah, you can see it's working. We are leaning. As I said, 30 degrees might be a little bit too much. So you just have to experiment with this by yourself. I think 30 degrees is a little bit too much, yeah. What you also need to do is, if you go into your unarmed blend space, your asset details, because we are snapping a lot, so as you can see, like when I stop running, it snaps. And yeah, okay, that doesn't look too good. So a couple of things to make it look a little bit more better. I think if you go into your character movement, rotation rate, I think I'm gonna increase that to like 1000 just to make it and yeah, it still looks shit, but I'm gonna show you why. So in here, because we're snapping between the different animation states right now, so let's add some interpolation time. I'm not sure what values I usually do, to be honest, so I'm gonna double check. 1 second. I usually do something like what's it called? It's called interpolation, right? So let's try something like 0.5 maybe on the sample interpolation time, and on here also maybe something 0.5. because the speed is 0 between the interpolations. So okay, yeah, that's way too slow. It's looking better with the rotation though. Yeah, no. I'm just gonna check which one it is that is causing problems. So yeah, you have to experiment with this. Maybe something like 0.2. This looks better. A lot smoother. And as you can see, the snapping is a lot less. Maybe not on this rotation. But yeah, as you can see, it's a lot smoother with the rotation here and the rotation there, and when we stop and when we start, it's not just snapping into place. As you can see, this one, it doesn't look very good because we are rotating and the rotation makes us go into the lean animation. So let's fix that by actually make sure that we can probably do something like this. If we add a branch here, if the speed is greater than 300 maybe, then we set the rotation. But if it's not greater than 300, we set the rotation to 0. Yeah, look. So since, yeah, as you can see, what happened now is if the speed if we aren't already running, as you can see, we're leaning when we are running, but if we are not running, the speed is below 300, which means that we are not leaning when we're just using the arrow keys or the WASD to actually rotate, unless we are actually moving above 300 movement speed. So yeah, that looks quite nice now. And all of a sudden you actually do have a quite nice basic locomotion setup already in just one video with free animations and everything. As always, it takes a lot longer for me to actually do stuff. 32 minutes video for this could have gone a lot easier and a lot faster, but I think I was explaining enough in this video, and I think even beginners should be able to keep up with this. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm still not explaining stuff properly, but I think this looks quite nice. So we have a good start. Let's see what we will do in the next video later. Maybe swap out the animation, the jumping animations, because these also look horrible. So yeah, perfect. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there is anything you have suggestions for later on in the video. We're gonna turn this into like a AAA game. It's gonna be amazing. And yeah, that's about it for now. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.